Hi, this is Britt Hedlund, and this is Module 12, the case study with the budget debacle. So, first, Mr. Santos is the principal at Briardale Elementary School, works closely with the school's foundation to raise money to supplement the school budget, which focuses on basic instruction and curriculum. The foundation is led by a parent representative who holds a big fundraiser each year, and that representative meets with the school site curriculum committee to decide how the funds raised will be used. The parent representative in this case study is Mr. Bearley. He's a new parent to the district. He's apparently very competitive. He's a Harvard grad, and he wants to raise a lot of money to fund innovative curriculum programs as opposed to the programs like art, music, and foreign language that have been funded in the past. He decided to do a raffle for cash fundraiser and his foundation, the foundation agreed on the idea. The foundation proceeded with the fundraiser, and on the night when the community gathered at Briardale Elementary School to hold the raffle, the sheriff came and took Mr. Bearley into custody. He was booked, released, convicted of a misdemeanor, and placed on probation for his role in the raffle. The event got much recognition and was even on the front page of the local newspaper. So legally and ethically, raffles are considered gambling and illegal, and probably, I don't know the state where Briardale is, but they would obviously be considered illegal in this state. There was no legal contract signed between Mr. Bearley and the school district, so technically there wasn't a breach of contract, but Mr. Bearley did not keep his word and raise the money that he agreed to. Ethically, he should have considered that an elementary school would not be the place to host a raffle for cash since it's considered gambling. And I think that this really hurts Mr. Bearley, Mr. Santos, and the elementary school's image as it looked negative on the whole group. The fundraising efforts of Briardale Elementary School have proven successful in support of student success and equity, but have gotten off track by losing sight of the vision and have hurt the image of Briardale and its administration. So the facts. The people, what we know is that Mr. Santos is the principal and he is in charge of the budget at Briardale. We know that Mr. Bearley is a Harvard grad and the foundation president. We know that the foundation president organizes big fundraisers to supplement the budget. We know that the teachers must be very happy with Briardale Elementary because they have a very low turnover. We also know that there's around 600 students at Briardale. What we don't know is the superintendent's involvement. We don't know why a new parent was chosen for the president of the foundation. We don't know what teachers want to use the money for. We don't know who the members of the foundation are. Like, are there students involved? Are there other parents? Are there business owners? Who are the people in the foundation? We don't know if Mr. Santos followed up after his first meeting with Mr. Bearley and agreed to this raffle. And we also don't know how the stakeholders reacted to the debacle. The place, what we know is it's called Briardale Elementary School, and it's in the middle of a very diverse community. It's one of 6 elementary schools. We assume it's public because of how it's set up. It feeds 2 middle schools and 1 high school, and the community uses Briardale for community events. What we don't know is what state it's located in or where the school gathered for the raffle drawing. For the program, we know that it is a K-5 public school. We can assume that. It doesn't seem to be private. Briardale has a budget for basic skills, curriculum, and instruction. The objectives at each school are based on student performance that support basic skill instruction. Supplemental programs like art, music, and foreign language are funded by fundraising efforts in the school's foundation. Briar Elementary has a curriculum site committee, and through fundraising, Mr. Bearley wants to fund innovative curriculum programs. Let me go back. What we don't know about the program is what the so-called innovative programs consist of. How will the existing programs like art, music, and foreign language continue to be funded? We don't know what curriculum the teachers on the site curriculum, the curriculum site committee value the most. And we don't have any data that supports student success within the curriculum and the programs. So when I review and prioritize the information that I know, It looks to me like it's pretty evident that this fundraising event could be harmful to all stakeholders and the community. First, it could be seen that it may seem that leadership was unaware of the laws surrounding fundraiser and allowed the debacle to happen. Next, teachers could lose trust in their leadership and the foundation, which hurts relationships. It could also cause distrust between the community and leadership, which is always harmful to schools. Most importantly, it could cause important programs to lose funding, which does hurt student success. And I didn't write this in there, but equity, because these are programs that bring equity to learning. Because of the newspaper article, most stakeholders would be aware of the problem, but we don't know who has been consulted. We don't know if any meetings have taken place to discuss the issue, but we do know from experience that negative news travels quickly. To make a decision on what to do, I think the best thing to do would start with the superintendent, consult with him, and then the teachers, and then the foundation. And it would be very important to come up with a plan that is transparent, has complete buy-in from all stakeholders, and brings restoration to all stakeholders. So when I evaluate, whoops, I went too fast, the options, identifying the 3 options that I came up with, I think the first option could be to return the money to the stakeholders and quietly do another fundraiser to be used for supplemental programming later. Keep the fundraiser small and cut back on supplemental programs. The second option would be to meet with the superintendent, the teachers, and the foundation to devise a transparent and honest plan. That could consist of returning the money raised, putting out a press release, having Mr. Santos take complete responsibility for the incident and do a formal apology. The foundation could come up with an alternative fundraiser and do that later after school has started with a new president in charge, or maybe no president at all. And the goal would be to raise enough money to fund current supplemental programs and bring the community together in a positive atmosphere at Briardale. The third option would be to meet with the superintendent and the teachers to devise a plan that consists of returning the money raised for the raffle and putting out a press release. But instead of the foundation running the fundraiser, maybe teachers and Mr. Santos could decide on what programs they would like to fund, and they could decide what fundraiser to do. They could set the goal for the amount of money needed and get students involved instead of the foundation, and the fundraiser could take place after school starts in order to gain student involvement. So the pros and cons of number 1. The pros would be that stakeholders get their money back, that time will pass and eventually the incident will be forgotten, and that funding for supplemental programs will still take place. The con would be that being quiet may cause suspicion from stakeholders. Supplemental programs may be smaller and less available, and loss of trust between all stakeholders. The pros for number 2. Well, the stakeholders would still get their money back. Briardale would be transparent in their course of action, so trust would begin to be rebuilt. All stakeholders would be involved. The funding for the supplemental programs would take place, and the community would come together for an event at Briardale that is positive and builds good school culture. The cons would be that the community might be reluctant to give to the new fundraiser, and the foundation may not want to be involved, and they may want to take a year off, and then funding for the supplemental programs may be less and cuts could happen. So the third option, the pros would be the stakeholders get their money back, that Briardale is transparent about their course of action so trust begins to be rebuilt, and then funding for supplemental programs will take place, but the funding would be very specific and meet only the needs evaluated and decided upon. And a pro to this one would be that the students would take ownership. The cons would be that the community might be reluctant to give to the new fundraiser, the foundation would not be involved at all, and then funding for supplemental programs may be less and cuts could happen, and that also would equal more work for teachers. So for me, I feel like the best option is a combination of 2 and 3. That everybody needs to be involved at some level, that maybe the foundation doesn't have a president right now, that they all just come together with the teacher, the principal, and eventually the students, and that they all work together to build trust, show high integrity, and raise enough money for the supplemental programs. And then I think if the fundraiser were held after school started, like in the first 9 weeks, that they could celebrate the coming together, celebrate the fundraising, have a community get together like a ice cream social or a barbecue or a picnic, and do a celebration at Briar Elementary. To implement that, I think first thing you would have to do was meet with the superintendent, then the teachers, and then the foundation. Next, I think it would be really important to get the money back to the people who donated and just like start over. I don't know what that looks like. I think it would be hard to do, but I think it's very important to stay transparent and make sure everybody gets their money back. Third, I think it would be super important to put out a press release where you took Mr. Santos took responsibility for the debacle, and let the community know his course of action and plan to correct, and also just do a formal apology. Fourth, I would decide with the help of the curriculum committee and all the teachers really what programs need funded, exactly how much is needed, and then plan a new fundraiser to raise that amount, and not even like go overboard this time, just gain trust back and get the exact amount that they really need. And then fifth, when school starts, have an assembly, get students involved in the fundraiser, and then finally, I would, as the principal, Mr. Santos, should invite the entire community to come together, celebrate the fundraising efforts at an ice cream social or picnic or something at the elementary school. So this may look like a really bad situation, but I think that one important thing to remember is mindset. And when we look at failure as a way to grow and make ourselves better, this could definitely be a win, because everybody involved would learn more about the law around fundraising, about ethics, about transparency, and all of those things make the school better and the community better. And I just feel like this could really be used to strengthen the community and to bring everybody together instead of apart. I found this quote by Marian Wright Edelman that says, "Education is for improving the lives of others and for leaving your community and world better than you found it." And I thought that was very applicable to this case study. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for listening.